The Vestage Protocol stands as a pivotal exploration into the dual nature of curiosity, a force that drives humanity toward discovery while simultaneously leading to perilous outcomes. This experiment delves into the depths of human ambition, revealing how the quest for knowledge can unveil both groundbreaking advancements and unforeseen dangers. Curiosity, an intrinsic trait of our species, has propelled us to explore the unknown, pushing boundaries in science, technology, and philosophy. However, this same curiosity can lead us down treacherous paths, where the thirst for understanding may awaken forces beyond our control. The Vestage Protocol serves as a stark reminder of this duality, illustrating how the pursuit of knowledge can sometimes yield chilling consequences. As we set the stage for this experiment, we must confront the unsettling implications that arise when curiosity intersects with the unknown. The Vestige Protocol is not merely a scientific endeavor. It is a cautionary tale that beckons us to consider the ethical dimensions of our explorations. What happens when our desire to uncover the truth leads us to disturb the delicate balance of nature or to tamper with the fabric of reality itself? The experiment invites us to ponder these questions, urging us to reflect on the responsibilities that accompany our quest for knowledge. As we delve deeper into the narrative of the Vestige Protocol, we will uncover chilling experiences that challenge our understanding of reality. Participants in the experiment have reported unsettling phenomena, blurring the lines between the known and the unknown. These accounts serve as a haunting reminder of the potential consequences of our insatiable curiosity. The stories shared by those who have ventured into the depths of the Vestige Protocol are not merely anecdotal. They are a testament to the profound impact that curiosity can have on our lives. As we engage with these narratives, we invite viewers to consider their own relationship with curiosity. Are we prepared to confront the darkness that may lie beneath our desire for discovery? The Vestige Protocol compels us to grapple with these questions, urging us to navigate the fine line between enlightenment and danger. In this exploration, we will not shy away from the unsettling truths that emerge. The chilling experiences shared by participants serve as a warning, a call to approach our curiosity with caution and reverence. As we embark on this journey, we will uncover the layers of complexity that define the Vestige Protocol, revealing the intricate interplay between curiosity, discovery, and danger. The significance of this experiment extends beyond its immediate findings. It challenges us to reconsider our approach to knowledge and the ethical implications of our pursuits. In a world where the boundaries of science and morality often blur, the Vestige Protocol stands as a beacon, illuminating the path toward responsible exploration. As we prepare to delve into the heart of this experiment, we invite viewers to join us in contemplating the profound questions it raises. What are the limits of our curiosity? How do we balance the desire for discovery with the potential risks that accompany it? The Vestige Protocol serves as a catalyst for these discussions, encouraging us to engage with the darker aspects of our quest for knowledge. In the coming segments, we will share first-hand accounts of the eerie experiences that have emerged from the Vestige Protocol. These narratives will not only captivate our audience but also serve as a sobering reminder of the consequences that can arise when curiosity leads us into uncharted territory. As we navigate this complex landscape, we will explore the ethical dilemmas that arise from our pursuit of knowledge, urging viewers to reflect on their own responsibilities as seekers of truth. The Vestige Protocol is more than just an investigation. It is a profound exploration of the human condition, a journey into the heart of curiosity itself. As we prepare to unveil the chilling experiences that await, we invite you to join us in this exploration, to confront the shadows that linger at the edges of our understanding. Together, we will navigate the intricate web of curiosity, discovery, and danger, seeking to uncover the truths that lie hidden within the Vestage Protocol. Dr. Lucan Belgrave, a name that resonates within the scientific community, is a figure shrouded in both admiration and controversy. His fascination with the occult and the supernatural has long set him apart from his peers, drawing him into realms that many would consider taboo. From an early age, Belgrave exhibited an insatiable curiosity about the mysteries of existence, often delving into ancient texts and esoteric practices that explored the boundaries of human understanding. This fascination was not merely a passing interest. It became the cornerstone of his academic pursuits, leading him to investigate phenomena that straddled the line between science and the supernatural. His research often ventured into areas that others deemed too risky or unorthodox, earning him a reputation as a maverick in the field. While many scientists adhere to the principles of empirical evidence and rationality, Belgrave embraced the unknown, believing that true knowledge could only be attained by exploring the uncharted territories of human experience. This relentless pursuit of knowledge, however, came at a cost. Among his peers, Belgrave was both revered and reviled. His groundbreaking theories and innovative approaches garnered him a following, yet his methods often raised eyebrows. Colleagues admired his intellect and creativity but were equally wary of his willingness to push ethical boundaries in the name of discovery. Rumors circulated about his unyielding ambition, suggesting that he would stop at nothing to achieve his goals, even if it meant disregarding the well-being of others. This ruthless pursuit of knowledge painted Belgrave as a complex figure, one whose brilliance was often overshadowed by the ethical dilemmas he created. The scientific community found itself divided. Some viewed him as a visionary, while others labeled him a reckless charlatan. As Belgrave embarked on his most ambitious project yet, the Vestage Protocol, he became increasingly secretive about his methods and intentions. The project, which aimed to explore the intersection of science and the supernatural, was cloaked in mystery, raising questions about its implications. Why was he so determined to keep the details under wraps? What truths was he seeking that warranted such secrecy? The lack of transparency surrounding the Vestige Protocol only fueled speculation and concern among his colleagues. Some feared that Belgrave's obsession with the occult could lead to dangerous outcomes, while others believed he was on the brink of a groundbreaking discovery that could redefine the boundaries of science. The implications of his work were profound, as they challenged the very foundations of what was considered possible within the scientific realm. As whispers of the Vestige Protocol spread, so did the unease among those who knew Belgrave. The project was rumored to involve experiments that could potentially breach the veil between the known and the unknown, raising ethical questions that many were reluctant to confront. The secrecy surrounding the project suggested that Belgrave was aware of the potential ramifications of his work, yet he pressed on, driven by an unquenchable thirst for knowledge. This determination to uncover the truth, regardless of the consequences, painted a portrait of a man who was both brilliant and reckless, a scientist willing to gamble everything in pursuit of enlightenment. As the Vestige Protocol progressed, the tension surrounding Belgrave's work intensified. Colleagues began to distance themselves, wary of being associated with a project that could lead to catastrophic outcomes. Yet, despite the growing concerns, Belgrave remained undeterred. His fascination with the occult and the supernatural fueled his ambition, compelling him to delve deeper into the mysteries that lay ahead. The implications of his work extended beyond the scientific community. They touched upon the very fabric of reality itself. What would happen if Belgrave succeeded in bridging the gap between the known and the unknown? Would he unlock secrets that had been hidden for centuries? Or would he unleash forces that could spiral out of control? The questions loomed large, casting a shadow over the Vestage Protocol and its enigmatic leader. In the end, Dr. Lucan Belgrave emerged as a complex figure, embodying the duality of curiosity and danger. His fascination with the occult and supernatural, coupled with his ruthless pursuit of knowledge, positioned him at the forefront of a scientific revolution that was as thrilling as it was perilous. The secrecy surrounding his project only added to the intrigue, leaving a trail of questions in its wake. As we delve deeper into the Vestige Protocol, we must confront the implications of Belgrave's work and the chilling possibilities that lie ahead. The journey into the unknown is fraught with risks, and Belgrave's story serves as a cautionary tale about the lengths to which one might go in the name of discovery. The Vestige Protocol was officially framed as a groundbreaking study aimed at understanding the effects of isolation on the human mind. Dr. Lucan Belgrave and his team sought to explore how prolonged seclusion could influence cognitive function, emotional stability, and overall psychological well-being. The scientific community had long been intrigued by the implications of isolation, particularly in extreme environments, and Belgrave believed that his research could yield valuable insights into mental health, resilience, and the human psyche. The official narrative painted a picture of a noble pursuit, one that could potentially lead to advancements in psychological treatment and a deeper understanding of human behavior under stress. However, beneath this veneer of scientific inquiry lay a far more sinister agenda. As the experiment progressed, it became increasingly clear that Belgrave's true intentions were not solely focused on the welfare of participants or the advancement of psychological science. Instead, he harbored a fascination with the darker aspects of the human mind, driven by a desire to uncover the limits of human endurance and the potential for manipulation. The isolation was not merely a means to study psychological effects. It was a tool for probing the depths of fear, paranoia, and the unknown. Belgrave's motivations hinted at a desire to push boundaries, to see how far he could go in testing the human spirit and the fragility of sanity. This darker purpose raised ethical questions that loomed over the experiment, as participants were unwittingly drawn into a web of psychological experimentation that blurred the lines between science and exploitation. The physical setup of the Vestige Protocol was as meticulously crafted as it was foreboding. Located in a remote underground complex in the Arctic Circle, the facility was designed to be both isolated and self-sufficient, ensuring that participants would be cut off from the outside world for the duration of the study. The complex was a labyrinth of sterile corridors, dimly lit rooms, and high-tech monitoring equipment, all intended to create an environment conducive to the experiment's goals. Each participant was assigned to a small, soundproof chamber, equipped with basic amenities but devoid of any external stimuli. The chambers were designed to isolate individuals from one another, amplifying the psychological effects of solitude. Surveillance cameras monitored every movement, capturing data on the participants' behavior, reactions, and mental states. The stark, clinical environment was a stark contrast to the natural beauty of the Arctic Circle and wilderness above, reinforcing the sense of entrapment and disconnection from reality. As the experiment commenced, the participants quickly realized that they were not merely subjects in a psychological study. They were pawns in a larger game orchestrated by Belgrave. The isolation began to take its toll, with many experiencing heightened anxiety, hallucinations, and a profound sense of dread. The carefully controlled environment, intended to facilitate scientific observation, instead became a breeding ground for psychological turmoil. The true nature of the experiment began to unravel as participants reported unsettling experiences, including vivid nightmares and a pervasive feeling of being watched. The isolation that was meant to foster introspection instead led to a descent into paranoia, as the boundaries of reality began to blur. Belgrave's darker intentions became increasingly evident as he observed the participants' struggles, seemingly reveling in the chaos that unfolded. The underground complex, with its cold, sterile design, mirrored the emotional desolation experienced by those trapped within its walls. As the days turned into weeks, the psychological strain intensified, revealing the fragility of the human mind when subjected to extreme isolation. The experiment setup, while scientifically rigorous on the surface, concealed a more disturbing reality. The participants were not just subjects, they were unwitting participants in a psychological experiment that sought to explore the limits of human endurance and the darker recesses of the mind. The isolation that was intended to yield insights into mental health instead became a conduit for fear and despair, raising ethical concerns that would haunt the experiment long after its conclusion. In the end, the Vestage Protocol served as a chilling reminder of the potential consequences of unchecked curiosity and ambition. What began as a noble pursuit of knowledge devolved into a harrowing exploration of the human psyche, revealing the depths of darkness that can emerge when isolation and manipulation intertwine. The underground complex in the Arctic Circle, with its stark design and oppressive atmosphere, became a symbol of the experiment's true nature, a place where the boundaries of science and morality were tested, and where the quest for knowledge led to unforeseen and unsettling consequences. As we reflect on the purpose and setup of the Vestage Protocol, we are left to grapple with the ethical implications of such research and the haunting question of how far one should go in the name of discovery. The Vestage Protocol drew a diverse group of individuals, each selected for their unique backgrounds and psychological profiles. The three subjects chosen for this groundbreaking yet controversial study were Emily, a graduate student in psychology, Marcus, a former military operative, and Sarah, a reclusive artist. Each participant brought a distinct set of experiences and vulnerabilities that made them intriguing candidates for the experiment, but their selection also raised significant ethical concerns regarding the nature of their involvement. Emily, in her mid-20s, was an ambitious graduate student eager to explore the intricacies of human behavior. Her academic background in psychology made her an ideal candidate for the study, as she possessed a foundational understanding of mental processes and emotional responses. Emily had always been fascinated by the effects of isolation on the human mind, having conducted research on the subject during her studies. However, her eagerness to participate in the Vestage Protocol stemmed from a desire to contribute to scientific knowledge rather than a full understanding of the potential risks involved. Initially, she perceived the experiment as an opportunity to gain first-hand experience in psychological research, unaware of the darker intentions that lay beneath the surface. Marcus, on the other hand, had a vastly different background. A former military operative, he had spent years in high-stress environments, honing his skills in survival and mental resilience. His experiences in combat had shaped him into a person who thrived under pressure, making him an intriguing choice for the experiment. Marcus viewed the opportunity as a challenge, believing that his training would allow him to withstand the psychological trials of isolation. Initially, he approached the experiment with a sense of confidence, convinced that he could navigate the mental challenges that lay ahead. However, as the reality of the situation began to unfold, he would soon discover that the psychological effects of isolation could penetrate even the toughest exterior. Sarah, the third participant, was a reclusive artist who had long struggled with her mental health. Her background was marked by periods of intense creativity interspersed with bouts of depression and anxiety. Sarah's art often reflected her inner turmoil, and she had sought solace in her work as a means of coping with her emotional struggles. The selection committee believed that her unique perspective as an artist could provide valuable insights into the psychological effects of isolation. However, Sarah's participation raised ethical concerns, as her mental health history made her particularly vulnerable to the adverse effects of prolonged seclusion. Initially, she viewed the experiment as a chance to confront her fears and gain a deeper understanding of herself, but she was unaware of the potential dangers that awaited her. The selection of these 3 individuals was not without controversy. Ethical concerns loomed large over the Vestage Protocol, particularly regarding the informed consent of the participants. While each subject had signed consent forms, the true nature of the experiment was shrouded in secrecy, leaving them unaware of the full extent of the psychological challenges they would face. Critics argued that the participants were not adequately informed about the potential risks associated with isolation, particularly given the psychological vulnerabilities of individuals like Sarah. The ethical implications of subjecting individuals with mental health histories to extreme conditions raised serious questions about the morality of the experiment. Moreover, the motivations behind their selection were scrutinized. Critics contended that Belgrave's desire for groundbreaking results may have overshadowed his responsibility to protect the well-being of his subjects. The experiment's design appeared to prioritize scientific inquiry over ethical considerations, leading to concerns about exploitation and manipulation. The participants, driven by their own motivations, whether it be ambition, challenge, or self-discovery, were thrust into a situation that blurred the lines between scientific research and ethical responsibility. As the Vestage Protocol commenced, the initial perceptions of Emily, Marcus, and Sarah began to shift dramatically. What had started as an opportunity for exploration and understanding quickly morphed into a harrowing experience that tested their mental fortitude and resilience. The isolation that was meant to facilitate introspection instead became a source of profound psychological distress, forcing each participant to confront their deepest fears and insecurities. In the end, the backgrounds of the 3 subjects, their motivations for participating, and the ethical concerns surrounding their involvement painted a complex picture of the Vestage Protocol. While each individual brought unique strengths and vulnerabilities to the study, the ethical implications of their selection and the potential consequences of their participation loomed large. As the experiment unfolded, it became increasingly clear that the quest for knowledge could come at a significant cost, raising questions about the responsibilities of researchers and the moral boundaries of scientific inquiry. The journey into isolation would not only challenge their minds but also force them to confront the ethical dilemmas that lay at the heart of the Vestage Protocol. As the Vestage Protocol commenced, the atmosphere within the underground complex in the Arctic Circle was thick with tension and uncertainty. The 3 participants, Emily, Marcus, and Sarah, found themselves in their respective isolation chambers, each grappling with the reality of their situation. The sterile, dimly lit environment amplified their feelings of apprehension, and the silence was punctuated only by the distant hum of machinery and the occasional creaking of the facility. The initial excitement of participating in a groundbreaking study quickly gave way to an unsettling awareness of their isolation, as the weight of solitude began to settle heavily upon them. As night fell, the tension escalated. The participants were instructed to remain in their chambers, where they would be monitored continuously. The first night was marked by an eerie stillness, broken only by the soft sounds of breathing and the rustle of clothing as they shifted uncomfortably in their confined spaces. Emily, who had initially approached the experiment with enthusiasm, felt a creeping sense of dread as the hours dragged on. She could hear the faint echoes of her own heartbeat, a reminder of her solitude, and the darkness outside her chamber felt almost suffocating. Marcus, accustomed to high-stress environments, tried to maintain his composure, but even he could sense the growing unease. Sarah, on the other hand, was overwhelmed by a wave of anxiety, her mind racing with thoughts of what lay ahead. As the clock struck midnight, the atmosphere shifted dramatically. Dr. Lucan Belgrave, the mastermind behind the experiment, began his ritualistic chanting in a nearby observation room. His voice, low and resonant, reverberated through the complex, creating an unsettling ambience that seeped into the participants' chambers. The chanting was intended to set the tone for the experiment, a way to invoke the unknown and prepare the subjects for the psychological trials they were about to face. However, instead of instilling a sense of purpose, it only heightened the participants' anxiety. Emily felt a chill run down her spine as she listened to Belgrave's incantations, the words foreign and haunting, echoing in her mind like a dark omen. As the chanting continued, chaos erupted within the facility. The lights flickered erratically, casting long shadows that danced across the walls of the chambers. The participants could hear the sound of machinery whirring and alarms blaring, creating a cacophony that shattered the stillness of the night. Emily's heart raced as she pressed her ear against the cold metal of her chamber, straining to understand what was happening. Marcus, ever the soldier, instinctively began to assess the situation, his training kicking in as he prepared for potential threats. Sarah, however, was paralyzed by fear, her mind spiraling into a whirlwind of panic as she struggled to comprehend the unfolding chaos. Suddenly, the lights went out completely, plunging the complex into darkness. The only illumination came from the emergency exit signs, casting an eerie red glow that seemed to pulse ominously. In the darkness, the participants could hear the sounds of frantic footsteps and muffled voices, but the chaos outside their chambers felt distant and surreal. It was as if the world had fractured, leaving them isolated in their own nightmares. The chanting continued, now interspersed with frantic shouts from the research team, creating a dissonant symphony of fear and confusion. In the midst of the turmoil, eerie occurrences began to manifest, foreshadowing the experiment's grim outcome. Emily, straining to listen, thought she heard whispers echoing through the walls, indistinct voices that seemed to call her name. Marcus, in his chamber, felt an inexplicable chill wash over him, as if unseen eyes were watching him from the shadows. Sarah, overwhelmed by her surroundings, began to see fleeting images in the darkness, figures that danced just beyond her line of sight, vanishing as quickly as they appeared. These unsettling experiences heightened their sense of isolation, amplifying the psychological strain they were already under. As the night wore on, the atmosphere grew increasingly oppressive. The participants were left to confront their own fears, each grappling with the psychological effects of isolation compounded by the chaos that surrounded them. The initial excitement of the experiment had transformed into a nightmarish reality, where the boundaries of sanity began to blur. The chanting of Belgrave, once a ritualistic invocation, now felt like a sinister incantation that had unleashed something dark and unknown within the complex. The first night of the Vestage Protocol set the stage for the psychological unraveling that would follow. The tension, chaos, and eerie occurrences served as harbingers of the profound effects that isolation would have on the participants. As they faced the unknown, Each individual was forced to confront not only their own vulnerabilities but also the darker intentions behind the experiment itself. The atmosphere was charged with an unsettling energy, hinting at the harrowing journey that lay ahead, where the quest for knowledge would lead them into the depths of their own minds and the shadows of their fears. In the aftermath of the initial chaos that engulfed the Vestage Protocol, the atmosphere within the underground complex shifted dramatically. The research staff, who had been meticulously trained to handle the psychological and logistical challenges of the experiment, found themselves grappling with the unexpected fallout from the first night. As the emergency lights flickered back to life, illuminating the stark corridors, the tension among the staff was palpable. They exchanged anxious glances, their faces etched with concern and uncertainty, as they began to assess the situation and its implications. The lead researcher, Dr. Lucan Belgrave, emerged from the observation room, his demeanor a mix of determination and unease. He had anticipated challenges, but the chaos that had unfolded exceeded even his expectations. The staff quickly gathered for an emergency meeting, their voices hushed as they discussed the events of the night. Some expressed doubts about the experiment's direction, questioning whether they had crossed an ethical line that could not be uncrossed. Others were more focused on the logistics of the situation, concerned about the safety of the participants and the integrity of the research. The atmosphere was charged with anxiety, as the staff struggled to reconcile their scientific ambitions with the unsettling reality of what had just transpired. As the team began to regroup, the first subject's fate became a pressing concern. Emily, who had been the most vocal about her excitement for the experiment, had not responded to calls or monitoring signals since the chaos erupted. The staff quickly mobilized to check on her, their hearts heavy with apprehension. They approached her isolation chamber, the door sealed tight, and knocked urgently, calling her name. When there was no response, a sense of dread settled over the group. They exchanged worried glances, the gravity of the situation sinking in. With a sense of foreboding, they prepared to unlock the chamber, fearing the worst. When the door finally swung open, the sight that greeted them was chilling. Emily sat huddled in the corner of her chamber, her eyes wide and unblinking, a look of sheer terror etched across her face. She appeared disheveled, her hair matted and her clothes rumpled, as if she had been through a harrowing ordeal. The staff rushed to her side, their concern palpable as they attempted to assess her condition. Emily's breathing was shallow, and she struggled to articulate her experience, her words tumbling out in a frantic rush. She spoke of whispers in the dark, of shadows that seemed to move on their own, and of a suffocating sense of dread that had enveloped her throughout the night. The staff listened intently, their expressions shifting from concern to alarm as they realized the psychological toll the isolation had taken on her. As they escorted Emily out of the chamber, the remaining staff members exchanged worried glances, a growing sense of dread settling over them. The experiment had taken a turn that none had anticipated, and the implications of Emily's experience weighed heavily on their minds. They began to question the ethical boundaries of their work, wondering if they had unwittingly unleashed something far more sinister than they had intended. The atmosphere in the complex grew increasingly tense, as the staff grappled with the reality that their ambitious pursuit of knowledge had come at a significant cost. The discovery of Emily's condition marked a turning point for the remaining staff. They convened once more to discuss the implications of her experience and the potential risks to the other participants. Marcus and Sarah remained isolated in their chambers, and the staff felt an overwhelming sense of responsibility for their well-being. The fear of what might happen next loomed large, as they contemplated the psychological effects of isolation on individuals already vulnerable to mental distress. The staff's initial excitement about the experiment began to wane, replaced by a growing sense of dread that permeated the complex. As the hours passed, the atmosphere became increasingly oppressive. The staff members found it difficult to shake the feeling that they were being watched, as if unseen eyes were observing their every move. The whispers that Emily had described seemed to echo in their minds, creating an unsettling ambience that heightened their anxiety. The once sterile and clinical environment now felt like a labyrinth of shadows, where the boundaries between reality and the unknown began to blur. The immediate consequences following the initial chaos set the stage for a deeper unraveling of the experiment. The staff's reactions, coupled with the discovery of Emily's fate, ignited a growing sense of dread that permeated the complex. As they faced the reality of their situation, the ethical implications of their work loomed larger than ever, forcing them to confront the darker aspects of their pursuit of knowledge. The Vestage Protocol, once a beacon of scientific inquiry, had transformed into a harrowing exploration of the human psyche, where the quest for understanding threatened to spiral into chaos. The remaining staff members were left to grapple with the haunting question: what had they truly unleashed in their pursuit of knowledge, and at what cost? As the Vestige Protocol progressed, the horrifying changes in the subjects became increasingly evident, manifesting both physically and psychologically. The initial excitement surrounding the study had given way to a chilling reality, as Emily, Marcus, and Sarah began to exhibit alarming transformations that left the staff in a state of disbelief and dread. Emily, who had been the first to experience the psychological toll of isolation, showed signs of profound distress. Her once bright demeanor had faded, replaced by a hollow gaze that seemed to look through the world rather than at it. The staff noted that she had lost weight rapidly, her cheeks sunken and her skin pallid, as if the very essence of her vitality had been drained away. More disturbingly, Emily began to exhibit erratic behavior. She would often mutter to herself, her words incoherent and laced with fear. The whispers she had described during her first night in isolation seemed to have taken root in her mind, leading her to believe that unseen entities were watching her every move. The psychological transformation was alarming. She oscillated between moments of clarity and episodes of sheer panic, leaving the staff unsure of how to intervene effectively. Marcus, the former military operative, was not immune to the effects of isolation either. Initially confident in his ability to withstand the psychological challenges, he soon found himself grappling with an overwhelming sense of paranoia. The isolation that had once felt like a challenge became a suffocating prison. He began to experience vivid hallucinations, often seeing shadowy figures lurking just beyond the periphery of his vision. These entities seemed to taunt him, whispering dark secrets that eroded his sense of reality. Physically, Marcus's transformation was equally disturbing. He became increasingly withdrawn, his muscles taut with tension, and his once steady hands now trembled involuntarily. The psychological strain manifested in his inability to sleep, leading to dark circles under his eyes and a haunted expression that unsettled the staff. The confident soldier they had once known was slipping away, replaced by a man consumed by fear and confusion. Sarah, the reclusive artist, experienced a different but equally horrifying transformation. The isolation that had once offered her a canvas for introspection now became a breeding ground for her deepest fears. She began to create disturbing artwork in her mind, vivid images of grotesque figures and nightmarish landscapes that reflected her inner turmoil. The staff noted that her emotional state deteriorated rapidly. She oscillated between fits of creativity and paralyzing despair. Physically, Sarah's appearance changed as well. Her once vibrant hair dulled, and her skin took on a grayish hue. The psychological implications of her isolation were profound, as she became convinced that the entities she had imagined were real, manifesting in her thoughts and dreams. The line between reality and imagination blurred, leaving her trapped in a nightmarish cycle of fear. The implications of the entities that emerged from the subject's minds were deeply unsettling. The staff began to suspect that the isolation had not only affected the participants' mental states but had also awakened something dark and otherworldly within them. The whispers that Emily had first described seemed to echo through the complex, growing louder and more insistent as the days passed. The staff members began to report strange occurrences themselves, objects moving inexplicably, shadows flitting across the walls, and an overwhelming sense of being watched. It was as if the very fabric of reality was fraying, and the entities that had emerged from the subject's psyches were now infiltrating the minds of those observing the experiment. Fear and confusion gripped the staff as they struggled to comprehend the magnitude of what was unfolding. The initial excitement about the potential findings of the Vestage Protocol had devolved into a nightmare, as they grappled with the reality that they may have unleashed forces beyond their control. The psychological transformations of Emily, Marcus, and Sarah were not merely individual struggles. They were symptomatic of a larger, more sinister phenomenon that threatened to engulf the entire complex. The staff members exchanged worried glances, their conversations laced with uncertainty and dread. They questioned whether they had crossed an ethical line that could not be uncrossed, and whether the experiment could be salvaged or if it was already too late. As the horrifying changes in the subjects continued to unfold, the atmosphere within the underground complex grew increasingly oppressive. The staff found themselves caught in a web of fear, unsure of how to proceed or how to protect the participants from the dark forces that seemed to be emerging. The Vestage Protocol, once a quest for knowledge, had transformed into a harrowing exploration of the human psyche, revealing the fragility of the mind and the terrifying potential of the unknown. The implications of their work loomed large, leaving the staff to confront the chilling reality that they were not just observers but unwitting participants in a dark and unfolding mystery. The fear of what lay ahead hung heavy in the air, as they braced themselves for the consequences of their actions and the horrors that had yet to be revealed. As the Vestige Protocol reached its climax, the atmosphere within the underground complex erupted into chaos. The once sterile and controlled environment had devolved into a nightmarish landscape, where the boundaries of reality had all but disintegrated. The psychological transformations of Emily, Marcus, and Sarah had reached a breaking point, and the entities that had emerged from their minds now roamed freely, manifesting in terrifying ways. The staff, who had once believed they were conducting a groundbreaking study, found themselves ensnared in a web of horror that threatened to consume them all. It began with a cacophony of screams echoing through the corridors, a sound that reverberated with pure terror. Emily, Marcus, and Sarah, driven to the brink of madness, had broken free from their isolation chambers. The staff, caught off guard, scrambled to regain control, but the chaos was overwhelming. Emily, her eyes wide with fear, darted through the hallways, her voice a frantic wail as she called out for help. Marcus, once a pillar of strength, was now a shadow of his former self, his body tense and trembling as he fought against the unseen forces that tormented him. Sarah, lost in her own nightmarish visions, painted grotesque images on the walls with her own blood, her laughter mingling with cries of despair. Dr. Lucan Belgrave, who had orchestrated this descent into madness, stood at the center of the chaos, his expression a mix of fascination and horror. He had believed he could control the experiment, that he could harness the power of the human mind and the entities it could conjure. But as the chaos unfolded, it became clear that he had underestimated the forces he had unleashed. The whispers that had once been mere echoes in the participants' minds now crescendoed into a deafening roar, drowning out reason and sanity. In a moment of desperation, Belgrave attempted to regain control, shouting commands to the staff, but his voice was lost in the tumult. As the chaos escalated, the consequences of the experiment became horrifyingly apparent. The entities that had emerged from the subjects' psyches were no longer confined to the shadows. They had taken on a life of their own. The staff members, once confident in their roles as researchers, were now reduced to terrified onlookers as the manifestations of fear and despair surged around them. One by one, they fell victim to the chaos, their screams echoing through the halls as they were consumed by the very darkness they had sought to study. The walls of the complex seemed to close in, pulsating with a malevolent energy that fed off the fear of those trapped within. In the midst of the pandemonium, Justin, one of the junior researchers, found himself grappling with a primal instinct for survival. As the chaos unfolded, he felt a surge of adrenaline coursing through his veins, sharpening his senses and heightening his awareness. The instinct to flee kicked in, and he quickly assessed his surroundings, searching for an escape route. The once familiar corridors had transformed into a labyrinth of terror, and Justin's heart raced as he navigated the disorienting maze, desperate to find a way out. Justin's mind raced with thoughts of his colleagues, of Emily, Marcus, and Sarah, but the overwhelming fear pushed him forward. He could hear the distant cries of his fellow staff members, the sounds of chaos and despair echoing in his ears. Justin stumbled upon a group of researchers huddled together, their faces pale with fear as they tried to comprehend the horror unfolding around them. In that moment, Justin made a split-second decision. He would not succumb to the madness. He urged the group to follow him, to escape while they still could. As they sprinted through the corridors, Justin felt the oppressive weight of the darkness closing in behind him. The entities, now fully unleashed, seemed to sense their presence, their whispers growing louder, more insistent. Justin's heart pounded in his chest as he led the group toward the emergency exit, his instincts guiding him through the chaos. They could feel the cold breath of the entities on their necks, a chilling reminder of the horrors that lurked just beyond their reach. In the final moments of the experiment, Justin witnessed the horrific fate of Dr. Belgrave. As he stood at the center of the chaos, desperately trying to regain control, the entities converged upon him. The whispers grew into a deafening cacophony, drowning out his cries for help. In an instant, he was engulfed by the darkness, his figure swallowed whole as the very forces he had sought to manipulate turned against him. The staff members who had once revered him now watched in horror as their leader was consumed by the chaos he had unleashed. With a final burst of determination, Justin and the remaining staff members reached the emergency exit. They pushed through the door, emerging into the frigid Arctic Circle and air, gasping for breath as they stumbled into the night. The chaos of the Vestage Protocol faded behind them, replaced by the haunting echoes of what had transpired within the complex. Justin's heart raced, a mix of relief and terror coursing through his veins. They had survived. but the memories of that night would forever haunt them, a chilling reminder of the darkness that lurked within the human mind and the consequences of their insatiable curiosity. The Vestage Protocol had come to a catastrophic end, leaving behind a trail of horror and unanswered questions, as the survivors grappled with the knowledge that some doors, once opened, should never be closed. In the aftermath of the Vestige Protocol, Justin found himself grappling with the profound psychological impact of the harrowing events he had witnessed. The chaos that had unfolded within the underground complex left an indelible mark on his psyche, a haunting reminder of the fragility of the human mind when confronted with the unknown. As he attempted to reintegrate into the world outside, the memories of that fateful night loomed large, casting a shadow over his daily existence. The psychological toll of the experience was multifaceted. Initially, Justin felt a surge of relief upon escaping the clutches of the experiment, but that relief quickly morphed into a deep-seated anxiety. Nightmares plagued his sleep, vivid recollections of the chaos and terror that had unfolded within the complex. He would awaken in a cold sweat, heart racing, as the echoes of screams and the whispers of the entities reverberated in his mind. The once familiar boundaries of reality had blurred, and Justin found it increasingly difficult to distinguish between the waking world and the nightmares that haunted him. The psychological scars ran deep, manifesting in moments of paranoia and hypervigilance, as he constantly felt the weight of unseen eyes watching him. The lingering presence of the entity that had emerged during the experiment haunted Justin relentlessly. It was as if a part of that darkness had attached itself to him, a shadow that followed him into every corner of his life. He would catch glimpses of movement out of the corner of his eye, hear whispers that seemed to echo in the silence, and feel an inexplicable chill that would wash over him in moments of solitude. The entity, once a mere figment of the subject's imaginations, had become a tangible presence in Justin's life, a constant reminder of the horrors he had witnessed. It was a chilling realization that the darkness he had sought to study had not only consumed the participants but had also seeped into the very fabric of their being. As the days turned into weeks, Justin found himself reflecting on the moral implications of seeking forbidden knowledge. The Vestige Protocol had begun as a quest for understanding, a desire to explore the depths of the human mind and the effects of isolation. However, the consequences of that pursuit had been catastrophic, leading to the unraveling of lives and the unleashing of forces that should have remained undisturbed. Justin grappled with the ethical dilemmas that had emerged from the experiment, questioning whether the pursuit of knowledge justified the risks taken. He pondered the age-old adage that some knowledge is best left undiscovered, a truth that had become painfully evident in the wake of the experiment's chaos. The moral implications weighed heavily on Justin's conscience. He had witnessed firsthand the devastating effects of curiosity unchecked by ethical considerations. The desire to push boundaries, to explore the unknown, had led to the suffering of his colleagues and the destruction of lives. Justin felt a profound sense of guilt for having participated in a project that had spiraled into horror. He questioned his own motivations, wondering if his ambition had blinded him to the potential consequences of his actions. The haunting memories of Emily, Marcus, and Sarah lingered in his mind, a constant reminder of the cost of his pursuit of knowledge. In moments of introspection, Justin found himself grappling with the question of responsibility. Who was to blame for the horrors that had unfolded? Was it Belgrave, whose ambition had driven the experiment into darkness? Or was it the collective desire of the staff to uncover the mysteries of the mind, a desire that had ultimately led them down a treacherous path? The complexity of the situation left Justin feeling adrift, caught between the desire for understanding and the moral implications of their actions. As he navigated his new reality, Justin sought solace in the understanding that he had survived. But at what cost? The experience had irrevocably changed him, leaving scars that would take time to heal. He found himself drawn to the stories of others who had faced similar dilemmas, seeking to understand the nature of curiosity and its potential for destruction. The haunting presence of the entity served as a constant reminder of the darkness that lurked within the human psyche, a darkness that could be awakened by the pursuit of forbidden knowledge. Ultimately, Justin's experience became a cautionary tale, a reflection on the delicate balance between curiosity and ethical responsibility. The Vestage Protocol had revealed the depths of human vulnerability and the consequences of delving into the unknown without regard for the potential fallout. As he moved forward, Justin carried with him the weight of his experiences, a reminder that the quest for knowledge must always be tempered by a sense of moral responsibility. The echoes of that fateful night would forever resonate within him, shaping his understanding of the world and the complexities of the human mind. In the end, he learned that some doors, once opened, can never be closed, and that the pursuit of knowledge must always be approached with caution and reverence for the unknown. We invite you to engage with this content and share your thoughts on the themes we've discussed. What are your reflections on the balance between curiosity and ethical responsibility? Have you ever encountered a situation where your desire to know more led to unexpected outcomes? Your insights are valuable, and we encourage you to share them in the comment section below. If you found this exploration of the Vestage Protocol compelling, we invite you to subscribe to our channel for more content. By subscribing, you'll stay updated on our latest videos, ensuring you never miss an opportunity to engage with thought-provoking discussions that challenge our understanding of the world. Additionally, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends and family. Your support helps us continue to create content that sparks meaningful conversations and encourages viewers to reflect on the complexities of the human experience.